Today on Locked On Rockies, why the heck am I rooting for a Tiger this weekend?
You are Locked On Rockies, your daily Colorado Rockies podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Rock on Rockies fans, welcome into the Locked On Rockies podcast for today, the 21st day of April 2022. I am your Rockies fan extraordinaire, Paul Holden, bringing you your daily Rockies podcast. We're talking Rockies 5 days a week here on the Locked On Rockies podcast. Proud to be part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. We are free and streaming on your favorite streaming service. And today's episode of Locked On Rockies is brought to you by Blue Nile. This Mother's Day, give mom something she'll treasure forever with fine jewelry from BlueNile.com. And Locked On Sports listeners get $50 off, $500. Use code Locked On at checkout. Folks, today on Locked On Rockies, we will talk about the bullpen implosion, the first one we've seen from the season, what that means for the Rockies, and we'll break down a little bit of the finale against the Phillies and just kind of the takeaways from that series and take a look ahead. I mentioned this briefly at the end, I believe, of yesterday's show. It might have been of Tuesday's show. When you look at the schedule ahead for the Rockies could put themselves in a very interesting position here as they go on their biggest road trip of the season. Arguably, I know that the level of competition in terms of teams might not be the steepest on the road, but this is the longest road trip yet for this new look Colorado Rockies, and it's going to be a good barometer, at least, of how the Rockies will be as a road team this year. Is the offense going to go cold? Is it going to fall flat? Are the Rockies going to be able to break the Coors Field narrative early? Are they going to avoid being historically bad on the road? We are going to find out starting this weekend. And of course, there is a big moment, big potential this weekend, and probably gonna happen. And as any baseball fan out there should be rooting for Miguel Cabrera to get his 3,000th hit this weekend. Should be very exciting. So yes, my clickbait title to grab you in is about Miguel Cabrera. We'll talk a little bit about Miguel Cabrera and his significance to the game of baseball and how it's been pretty cool that the Rockies have ended up being a part of some major milestones for some teams along the year. Some players, I should specify, should clarify. But first, let's talk about the pressing Rockies issue at hand, and that was the bullpen falling apart there in the loss to the Phillies. But before we dive into the bullpen part of it, we do have to talk a little bit about the Rockies ace. And German Marquez was not his usual self yesterday. He was giving up the long ball, and something that we don't usually see from German Marquez. And they were, I think there was, 4 home runs in that game. What was nice about it, at least when you're looking for the silver lining when it comes to something like giving up 4 home runs in a game, is the fact that they were mostly solo shots, and the Rockies were still very much in the game while German was on the bump. While German wasn't sharp, he still went 6 and only gave up 4. It's not the worst thing in the world there. But, however, German has now given up 4 runs in back-to-back starts. He at least goes a little bit deeper in the game this one than he did against the Cubs, but still 8 hits and 4 runs there, and those balls were hit hard. The home runs were shots, Kyle Schwarber's especially, and Kyle Schwarber's came at a massive time as well. It's something, though, we've seen before with German Marquez. We've seen, there's obviously all pitchers are dealing with the shortened spring, so that adds something to it. But we have seen German Marquez historically be fine when he starts, but not necessarily dominating like we're used to, or like we see German in midseason form. And I think he will be fine. And again, when we look at the game, when we look at how things went for the Rockies yesterday, they were in that game. They had plenty of opportunities to score more runs and plenty of opportunities to take the lead. In fact, I believe they did take the lead at one point until the Schwarber home run was given up. Now, this is something that should get better for Erman. It's something that you weren't going to go through an entire series with the Phillies and not have those guys hit home runs. I just think that lineup is designed to do what they did in that final game against the Rockies, have a big inning where they can come up big and drive in runs. They haven't necessarily done that this year. They haven't been as good as people have been hoping for, but that's what those players are meant to do. That's what players like Kyle Schwarber are meant to do. And I love Chris Bryant. I love the signing, but that was something. I think Kyle Schwarber would have been a real interesting ad. I think you might have been able to get both with the way with the way the Rockies have been spending money. But that's crystal ball talk at this point. But hey, sweeps are hard. Sweeps are tough. But and the biggest concern you have for the Rockies is the fact that the bullpen gave up so much in the middle of the game yesterday. And this simply can't happen. I mean, it was just, and it wasn't, and it all started with free passes. That's really what the issue was. Lucas Gilbreth got put in a really tough situation to make his debut on the season. I don't necessarily know why the Rockies went ahead and did that. I don't really get why Bud Black saw that was the move to make in terms. Maybe it was just like, hey, you know what? We're going to be counting on you in big situations. We're putting you in one right away. Here you go. You're fresh off the COVID list. You're fresh back in the big leagues. Why don't you go get out of this jam that Chacin found himself in? And so it's not necessarily the issues with Gilbert, but Chacin, however, that's awful. we really can't have innings like Julius Chacin had, where it was 2 hits, 3 earned runs, 1 walk, and 1 strikeout on a third of an inning pitched. It simply can't happen. But then on the backside, Gilbreth comes in. He does give up the 2 earned runs, and he also walks someone. But again, very tough situation to come in. You can't expect nothing but perfection from Gilbreth in that spot. It was definitely a jam. That's the worrisome thing. However, Chacin's been really hot and cold so far. I mean, in his first appearance against the Phillies, lights out, dominates for his his portion of the inning. But against the Cubs, over an inning, he gives up four hits and 4 runs. So far this season, he's given up 6 hits, 7 runs, and 6 in 2/3, 6 in basically a third inning. It's not bad. I mean, it's not, but it needs to be much better. I mean, I know as surprising as the bullpen has been, Chacin's one of the arms that you're going for these situations when you need someone in the 5th and the 6th to keep you in ball games. And unfortunately, if we can get April 18th, Chacin, great. But we've seen the April 16th and we've seen April 20th Chacin as well. And in those 1 1/3 inning pitched in those 2 starts, 6 hits, 7 runs, in there. But that was only his 3rd appearance of the year. Things are still early. And again, if the Rockies can continue to fight back in situations, they'll be fine. They'll be all right. And the Rockies did show some life and did have some opportunities late, but 5 runs in an inning is always going to be very tough to come back from. And it wasn't just on the bullpen, but we finally saw what we were worried about. We finally saw that this bullpen, it does still have the potential to give up the big inning, to knock the Rockies out of the game. But what was nice was the Rockies working back in a nice back half of the inning, got themselves a couple of situations to get some runners on and score. Did score a couple, and unfortunately not enough to keep the rally and keep the momentum. But all in all, the Rockies still are in a good spot to start the year, and are in a good spot to continue that hot start. And why I say that is because when you look at the schedule, folks, for the Rockies coming up, it is full of potential and and that can go both ways. And let's talk about that in just a second. But before we do that, got to tell you about BlueNile.com. At BlueNile.com, you can celebrate all of life's special moments, from creating the custom engagement ring of her dreams to gifting a classic and timeless jewelry piece, all at prices you won't find at a traditional jeweler. Whether she prefers a statement piece or everyday subtle elegance, BlueNile.com has fine jewelry options for every mom. Shop high-quality classics, diamond earrings, elegant tennis bracelets, or gemstone pendant necklaces. And if you're looking for jewelry, but you have trouble choosing, well, here's the great part about Blue Nile. They have jewelry experts on hand 24/7, available on the phone or via the chat to help you find a memorable gift at every budget. Mark Mother's Day with something enduring: classic diamond stud earrings, elegant tennis bracelets, birthstone pendants, and so much more on BlueNile.com. Celebrating the special women in your life on BlueNile.com, you can easily navigate thousands of fine jewelry options at every price point. This Mother's Day, give mom something she'll treasure forever with fine jewelry from BlueNile.com. And Locked On Rockies listeners get $50 off $500. This podcast exclusive is only good through Mother's Day. Use code Locked On. That's code Locked On. Plus, every order is insured, ships free, and arrives in discreet packaging that won't give away what's inside. Shop stress-free and find your forever piece. Go to BlueNile.com today. Folks, the Rockies' schedule coming up here is ripe for potential. It's ripe for potential for the Rockies to continue this start and to continue to build on this early momentum. But it's also a opportunity for the Rockies to fall into bad habits, for us to see the Rockies go on the road and play absolute stinkers. And we have seen that multiple times. We have seen that the Rockies in the past struggle with going on the road. How will the Rockies handle the road this season? Now is the time to end the narrative. This road schedule coming up and the rest of your schedule in the month of April and into May is a way for you to really keep your foot on the gas and continue on this start and keep the momentum building throughout the season. Stretches like this are where the Rockies have to play winning baseball, and they have to play winning baseball on the road. All right. You're probably like, you've talked about the schedule. Tell me the schedule. Well, let's dive in, folks. After this series with the Phillies, the Rockies head on the road to take on the Tigers for a weekend series here. They play Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. They are then in Philly again, who they just saw, and so matching up with the team they just saw and just beat. However, Philly struggles at home. The Rockies have played Philly pretty darn well. 4-game set against Phillies throughout next week. After that, the Rockies then are home against the Reds. The Reds come into town for a 3-game set, followed by the Nationals coming through to town into Denver at the beginning of May. And then you wind down with a series at the Diamondbacks here. And before you end up May 9th. May 9th is when the Rockies head to San Francisco for the first time. If the Rockies play above 500 ball getting there and they continue to build on this early lead, you are able to go in and not only see where your competitive barometer is going to be about these teams, but you can go ahead and you know what? Be realistic. If you're going to go up against the tough part of the Giants lineup in San Francisco, you'll feel better about dropping a series in the Bay if you know that you went on the road and beat the Tigers and the Phillies before a nice homestand, before you took care of business against the Reds, and before you went out and then went to an Arizona team that you should be able to beat as well. Though this is the stretch of the schedule that could help pave the road for continued success in 2022. If the Rockies are going to continue this early success, if the Rockies are going to build on the start that they have, on the momentum they have, then this stretch of games is honestly critical. This is a huge, long stretch of games. And when you look at every team in the series and say the Rockies can win that series, whether it be at home or on the road. Now, if we get the road Rockies of 2021, that's a different story. The Rockies will go and they will struggle against the Tigers. The Tigers are 4-7 this year. I know the Tigers are better than maybe their record says, and they're better than they've been in the past, but the Tigers are 4-7. You just beat Philly 2 out of 3 and some stuff. And now you got to go in and they're looking for revenge. How are you going to handle that series going into their ballpark when they're looking to bounce back and get their season back on track? Follow that up with a series against the Reds, who you must beat. You not only must beat, but you must dominate that series, followed by one that should be kind of tough with the Nationals coming into town before another winnable series in Arizona. The Rockies should be able to win series against the Tigers, the Phillies, the Reds, the Nationals, and the Diamondbacks. However, if you want to be realistic and you look at that long stretch of baseball and what can happen, the Rockies should be able to come away with series wins against the Tigers, the Reds, and the Diamondbacks. The Nationals and the Phillies, they might give you a little bit more, but the Nationals are coming into Coors Field where the Rockies are better, and the Rockies have played the Phillies well, as we just saw. This is a stretch of ball games very winnable for the Rockies. If you win 2 out of every 3 of these games, that is a monumental move and a big win for the Rockies this season. If the Rockies win 2, let's see, 1, 2, so 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. If the Rockies win 10 of their next, 14 games, 10 of their next 14 games, the Rockies will improve their record to 18-7, heading into a series at the Bay with San Francisco. My math, probably shaky because I did it on the fly. You all can probably calculate that as well. But what I'm saying is, if you take advantage of this hot start that you had, this first early season series win against the Dodgers that has propelled you to an 8-4 start, if you win 10 of your next 14 ball games, you can be looking at going into a series at San Francisco almost 10 games above 500 in the beginning of the year, which is going to help soften the blow of a tough series in San Francisco. Let's be real, folks. Going to San Francisco and winning is going to be hard, very hard this year. It's always been hard for the Rockies, but this year it's going to be more difficult because those Giants pitchers over there are already dealing. And they're going to be really tough. The Giants have always been tough for the Rockies. Look at the record against the Rockies and the Dodgers last year. Put yourself in a situation where you can, in the grand scheme of things, afford to drop that series. If the first road series you lose as the 2022 Rockies is a series against San Francisco in the Bay, that's a massive win. That means you went on the road and you handled business against Detroit, and you handled business against Philly, and you handled business against Arizona. This is a massive window when you're looking at the big picture of things. When you're looking for the question of what the Rockies' outlook of 2022 becomes, it's going to be a lot more clear at the end of this stretch of these next 4 or 5 series. Again, folks, let me read off the teams that the Rockies are facing off against here, and I'll say on the road and who's not. The Rockies have a road trip where they match up against the Tigers and the Phillies before they head home for a 3-game set with the Reds, and then the Nationals come into town for a 3-game set before the Rockies go on the road to take on the Diamondbacks. Is any of those teams really worrying you other than Philly? Philly has the potential. I know we just saw them. I know that, but again, Philly can score runs. Detroit has better options. But if this Rockies offense, if this Rockies team and this Rockies bullpen can keep it together, and you're heading into that San Francisco series, your first series against San Francisco with a nice padding on your record, it's going to feel better. You're going to feel good. Because after that, maybe you win that series, maybe you play hard or maybe you drop it, you head home and you got the Royals coming into town before you got a tough home stretch with the Giants and the Mets coming into town. Lot of early season opportunity here for the Rockies. Lot of early season importance here for the Rockies. If you want to keep flipping the narrative on the competitiveness of the Rockies, win these series. Go out and win these series. I'm not saying sweep every game. I'm not saying we're not going to have some issues and things of that nature. Win the series. win the month, win the week, win 4 out of every 7 days. And that will put you in an incredible position to go on and take on San Francisco. And it'll help your confidence. It'll help your mood. It'll help the flow of the game. It'll help the rhythm. It'll help the importance of this stuff. I mean, yes, it's 162. Will we really, when we gets down to July, how much will we look at games in April? A lot, if the Rockies are still in contention by that point. These games matter for Rockies fans. The Rockies need to take advantage of every stretch, every good mix of opportunity they have before they have to go through the juggernaut that is their division. The Rockies, we can't sit here and say the Rockies are for real if they can't go out and beat the Tigers, the Phillies, the Reds, the Nationals, and the Diamondbacks in series. Make this a good consecutive stretch of baseball. And it doesn't have to be 5 games in a row. It can be every, one game win, 1 game loss, blah, blah, blah. But take advantage of this stretch. If the Rockies take advantage of this stretch, it's another step forward on the path of potential contention. It's another step forward towards this season becoming even more weirder and more interesting and more fun. And it's another step forward of ending the narrative that the Rockies aren't competing. I want that narrative then, but we are sitting here on April 21st. The bullpen just had an implosion, and the Rockies are heading out to the road for a long stretch. If the Rockies go out and get crushed on this road trip, everything that's built in this early stretch of games is crushed. It's for nothing. The Rockies, a losing road trip puts the Rockies back at and around 500. Going out and being successful on this first long road trip of the year is crucial for the Rockies. Pivotal for the Rockies. There's a lot of baseball left, but these stretches matter most to teams like the Rockies. Beating teams that you know you can beat, beating teams that you feel you're better than, beating teams that give you opportunities to win, like we saw the Phillies give the Rockies chances to win and they took advantage of it. Not every game, but this is a crucial stretch in the early part of the season for the Rockies. On top of all of that, let's celebrate one of baseball's greats in Miguel Cabrera. But before we do that, got to tell you about some friends that help make the show possible, and that includes Built Bar. Built Bar is the thing for you if you're looking for that new snack. You're looking for that new tasty treat. You're looking for something that's a little bit better than those candy bars that you love to snack on. Built Bars are covered in 100% real chocolate, and they are low calorie, high protein, and they are just better. Go to built.com, scroll down to the macros charts. You'll be blown away by the high protein, low calorie, high fiber, low carb options. Most Built Bars contain 130 calories, 4 grams of sugar, 4 net carbs, and 17 grams of protein. Compare that to a candy bar, which usually has around 240 calories, 30 grams of sugar, and dozens of net carbs. There's so many delicious flavors of Built Bar waiting for you to check out at built.com. And when you head to built.com, well, I tell you what, folks, let's save you a little bit of money. Use the promo code LOCK15 and you're going to get 15% off your order at built.com. That's 15% off your order when you use the promo code LOCK15 for 15% off at built.com. 15% off your order at built.com when you use the promo code LOCK15. A big baseball moment is going to happen this weekend. It could happen as soon as tomorrow. It could happen as soon as today, actually. I'm sorry. With the fact that the Tigers are playing the Yankees. But I wanted to sit here and celebrate the fact that Miguel Cabrera is one hit away from 3,000. An absolutely incredible milestone. Something that should be celebrated. And honestly, we should appreciate the fact that for my era of baseball fans, we're finally seeing the big greats are at the tail ends of their careers. So here's the deal. Obviously, I was around for a lot of Jeter. I was around for those Yankees teams, but I was still younger, and I was developing my fandom. But when I followed baseball, when I was actively engaged in baseball and knowing what it was, my late middle school into high school times, when I started really developing more of a love of baseball and the actual league. Miguel Cabrera was the guy. I mean, he was up there with and him and Albert Pujols, and just those are some of the players. When I think of the big name players, the massive impact players of growing up, and when I was playing the game, Miguel Cabrera is at the top of the list. Miguel Cabrera was someone that I wanted to be like, because I value me as a baseball player and as a baseball fan, and as my interest in baseball. I understand how difficult and hard it is to pitch and to maneuver and manipulate the ball, and the strength that it takes. But I just am so fascinated by the art of hitting. I think the most interesting part of a baseball game is the way a hitter is able to just hit in general. I mean, hitting shouldn't happen. People shouldn't be this good at hitting baseballs. I know offense is down. I know it's the home run era. I know there's all this other stuff, blah, blah, blah. Every single time someone hits a 102-mile-an-hour pitch is a miracle, honestly, in my eyes. And it's just so cool, to me, as a fan, to look at someone who's just so dedicated and so good at the art of hitting. And for me, and growing up, Miguel Cabrera is at the list of as one of the greatest baseball players I've ever watched. Miguel Cabrera's approach at the plate, Miguel Cabrera's ability to score runs, Miguel Cabrera's immediate impact on the league. Man, those Tiger teams that fell short were so good. The Verlander and Miggy ones. So I if it doesn't happen today, as as of recording right now, Miggy is in the lineup playing against the Yankees right now. Just about nearing 3,000 hits, scoring over 1,500 runs, triple crown winner, triple in 2012. 40 at 330 batting average, 44 homers, and 139 RBIs. Man, it doesn't get much better than that when it comes to someone swinging it. And so I just wanted to say a tip of the cap to I guess that was I didn't really there you go. You can see my new haircut, my new look. I'm sure some people might be like, "Wow, that's a crazy it's a drastic change." I needed the haircut was long overdue. I decided to give myself my own haircut. Did it work out that well? We can just shave. I shaved my head. That's where it ended up. But at the end of the day, folks, I just wanted to celebrate Miguel Cabrera and applaud him. And just, I know there wasn't much, but one of the great players. It's for me. I love the fact that Albert Pujols is back in St. Louis, to see those players doing it, and to see players like Cabrera and Pujols doing it, today. And Cabrera's having himself a little bit of a season so far this year. I mean, he's 12 for 36 this year so far, 5 runs, 3 hits against the Yankees yesterday. I mean, yeah, it's pretty amazing. It's insane that these players are able to do what they're doing, and it's insane that Miguel Cabrera does what he does. That just changed the 12th. Did this all just change? Did he just do it? Hold on. I don't think he did. He checking Twitter. I don't think he did it. But anyway, folks, as we get ready to wind down the show, Rockies take on the Tigers this weekend, and there it is. Oh wait, no. Wait, is it? No, okay. That was $2.99. Ugh. So many things misleading. So many things that you that you can fall for on the internet. But folks, thank you so much for making Locked On Rockies your first listen of the day. Dylan in the live chat says it blows my mind just being able to read a pitch at 100 miles per hour. Cabrera deserves some praise. Absolutely, first ballot Hall of Famer without a doubt. Put it, dot it, love it. And again, a little insight to why I love watching baseball. big part is players like Miguel Cabrera and the art of hitting. Folks, thank you so much for making Locked On Rockies your first listen of the day. Go make Locked On Now or Locked On MLB your second listen of the day and stay up to date with all things Major League Baseball and the world of sports. You can stay up to date with all things Colorado sports with the Locked On Broncos, Locked On Avalanche, and Locked On Nuggets podcasts as well, keeping you informed through the Nuggets and the Avalanche playoff runs, the Broncos, crazy offseason, what's going on with Russ. Those guys are keeping you informed with that. And we're keeping you updated on all things for the Rockies here on the Locked On Rockies podcast. Dylan says, thanks for the show. Thank you for listening. And thank you all for being in the live show, because I'm seeing those numbers. I'm seeing plenty of people pop in. Remember, we record these shows live on YouTube. And if you're in the live show, you can be part of the live chat. Subscribe to that YouTube channel. It is a massive help to us, folks. If you subscribe to the Locked On Rockies YouTube channel, you are doing me a really, really big favor. And you are doing a really, really big thing supporting this show. And follow us on Twitter at LO Rockies. We're tweeting during the games. We're having lots of fun. And we're talking about the Rockies 5 days a week right here on the Locked On Rockies podcast. Until next time, I'm Paul Holden saying so long from the Locked On Rockies podcast.